And, as boys will be boys, Dad and I spent our second full day in Beijing by first visiting the Chinese War Museum, which was on the similarly grand scale as everything else we'd seen so far. We walked in through the main entrance, was greeted by a larger-than-life statue of Chairman Mao, surrounded by marble on all sides. The Lonely Planet guidebook told us this place was meant to be renovated until August of 2017, but fortunately it must have finished early. The first place we went to was the main hall. We were greeted by a bomber in front of us. I've said it before, I'll say it again. It was very, very difficult to come to terms with quite how big everything was.
Oh, it's so warm as well. You see the large collection of handguns up there?
We then kind of reminded of the role that like culture played within all of this. So we found this photo of the tank that was used that I believe, like as I can gather from the photo, that Chairman Mao marched into Tiananmen Square on. Then this is on the second floor, incidentally, which was full of tanks. This was on the -1 floor, which was full of tanks, where the first floor was full of planes. The most impressive thing on this floor, though, is the thing I'm walking towards currently, which is an American U-2 stealth bomber, navigation plane. Or at least, it's what's left of an American U-2 navigation plane. This was one that the Chinese government had found flying over China and had then shot down. This is a collection of here you can see a picture of the 4 of them that were shot down. Turns out the high-altitude reconnaissance crafts weren't quite high altitude enough, and this was in the centre of their war museum.
So it's a crisp -6 outside, hence many layers of stuff. Bumped into an American on the way out. It was really friendly, really nice guy. He pointed out what we hadn't noticed is there wasn't a gift shop there. So there was an annoying lack of consumerism, because it would have been really cool to have bought some models or something. We're now just getting the subway to this a place that specialises on like different ethnic minorities within China's food. So there's some of their like Mongolian and their Muslim stuff. Sounds interesting. Just getting the subway there now.
We saw a photo for the Jersey Boys, promotion of the a musical renowned the world over, as we wandered on our way to lunch. So the lunch we went for today was this place called Crescent Moon, which it wasn't called Crescent Moon, it was called something else entirely. I can't remember what it was called. Something with peacocks, pheasants maybe, can't remember. But the selling point of this place was that it had lots of food from the southern regions of China. So we wandered there for hope to get something vaguely tropical, something with a coconut base, as previously everything we had been very warm, very spicy, as a way of trying to like combat the serious cold. It was about -5 during the day. You'll see a fleet of the portable bikes that will walk past, and I tried cycling on one this morning, but even with gloves my hands just got far too cold as it was being buffeted by the wind. The air was very, very good, very, very clean, simply because the wind was blowing all the pollution away. This was fantastic, the air was excellent, but the wind made it even colder. But certainly a price worth paying, since we could see more than 100 metres ahead of us with no pollution. Incredibly rare for this time of year. The second big stop of 2 big stops we were going to that day was the Summer Palace, which we went to in the afternoon after a delicious lunch. Summer Palace was the summer retreat of an Empress Dowager. The place was gorgeous, fantastic, and a famous site in Beijing. The Summer Palace is home to what I'm reliably informed was the Guinness World Record winning longest corridor in the world. The thing totals something like 700 meters long. I recorded me walking through it for 4 minutes until I realized that I'd only got about halfway around, so decided to promptly stop. But yeah, there was this essentially this really long corridor, as it was fashionable at the time to have these. Initially, the entire thing was painted in red, in that the paint was like a varnish to keep the elements off the wood, keep the wood from rotting. Then they realised that once they could like paint all of this, they might as well make it beautiful. So the entire corridor was adorned with these like fantastic paintings. Each section of the corridor being in 4 sections, each section was representing a different season of the year. Each section had a different, and then accordingly, each section had a different like flavour to it, in that it was representing a different thing entirely. The palace itself was fantastic, but a lot of these paintings were burnt in the Second Opium War. The what is seen as like a highlight or a lowlight of the Chinese oppression by the West was when the French and English troops came to the palace and burnt it in the Second Opium War. A lot of things were relatively new, and a lot of the statues didn't have, or 2 of the Buddha statues didn't have heads on them anymore, simply as scars left from when the imperialists left, about 100 years ago. The Summer Palace was, as one would expect, absolutely beautiful. 75% of the palace was this lake. It's difficult to describe quite how massive it was. On the outskirts of Beijing, so you could see all the mountains in the distance. The palace itself resided here, on the top of the hill overlooking the lake. Dad and I made the mistake of walking up from behind, going over this hill to begin with, but it did mean when walking around the lake we got to see this beautiful sight behind us, presiding over beautiful surroundings.
So I've literally no idea why. Everyone is gathered around this bin, like taking photos of it. I think it's because the light, because it's like sunset. I don't know. The sun's quite low in the sky. I think it's because the light is making good angles and stuff. But I just don't understand why there was this big a group of people taking photos of a bin.
We continued walking around the lake. It was absolutely beautiful. In front of us is a 19-arch bridge, so called because it has, and I quote, 19 arches. It also apparently had the largest collection of lions on any bridge in China. The sort of lovely, wonderful facts that I love finding out about from audio guides, as most of the plaques, as you no doubt imagine, are in Mandarin. We then found this group of people dancing. Still have no idea why, but, you know, as is true of most things in China, I trust there is a reason. It was strange to see, but enjoyable.
Very nice. Good. What are you doing? 真的拿，下好。往那个对起来出去。Nope. 啊？等它落山进去。你知道吗？我这块是做
Walking across on this bridge, and there's loads of people with their phones out, pointing out this bridge. We haven't worked out why, but casually disconcerting. I don't know. I assume there is a reason. Just don't know what the reason is. For the vlog.
Naturally, we then wandered on down to see what the fuss was about, and we saw the thing that people were taking photos of. It was the way that the light passed through the bridge at sunset made the arches seem almost golden. And it was very, very beautiful. As we were walking out, one guy who spoke no English showed Dad his phone, just showing off the photo he'd taken. He seemed very proud. We could see why. We then walked towards the subway, the heated subway I so desperately wanted to end up, with the plan of going to get lamb on a skewer for dinner. The place where I'd first met Carol, I'd soon be introducing him to my father, and I realised quite how long I'd been in China, quite how fun it all was still.